What does it look like? It's pretty sick, actually. That's good. All right, so what's happening over here? Our setup for, we're doing like product cards of these bad boys. Captain Morgan cards that I found at a thrift shop a while ago. Ryan kindly, in his really weird house, found a bunch of cool things that could be associated to pirates. So we have this oil lamp here, because pirates definitely use oil lamps. Then we have some rings, like that, and my pirate ring, which is over here. Complement the scene. So we have a bunch of matches and gold stuff. So we have a couple things, and I'm gonna set up the lights. Oh yeah, we have this book too, which looks pretty sick. This looks old as shit, so we're gonna have that here in the corner at some point. We'll find a way. And he says the artisan cards are sick.
Hell yeah, she like cards too?
No.
That's pretty true.
Can you believe this was sand one day?
I know, right?
Like, how the fuck?
We're putting it back to sand right now.
Yeah.
What do you mean by replace?
Here, let's see. Okay. For me. So, let's look at this frame.
Oh fuck, that's sick. Wow.
Nice.
Watch out.
Yeah. That one. That filter on though. My nice earth filter, please, not sponsored, but please sponsor me. Oh, is this on?
Is what on?
Oh, that's the right. Alright, so just to recap over here, this is the process of making a scene. So what we have, you look at the shot on your camera, like this, and then you're like, okay, how can this get better? You evaluate this, so see now I want to bring this part more down. I want to create another space up here, great, on the top right, and kind of frame the subject itself a little bit better than this. So this is already a pretty good first step. You have a lot of details in here and different items that create the vibe of the cards. So we're going to kind of replace a little bit of this stuff over here, take another shot, see how it looks, and then you just try different things. Oh yeah, I forgot to show you this. So we have a NAND light over here, creating like that warm look. It's already pretty warm on my camera, but the light seeping in makes it even better. And plus you can exaggerate this in Lightroom afterwards to make it show like a bigger light is coming in. And then we have the other light over here placed down, which is actually a really good placement, Ryan. I like this a lot. Because over here it's really shadowy, and if this light wasn't there, I think it would be too much in the shadow. But we're still keeping the contrast by doing this. Oh, okay. The framing looks pretty good though.
There's a lot happening.
Yeah, there's a lot happening. But the reason why there's a lot happening is because we need to lift this up a bit. Alright, so now what's happening is the shot. There's a lot going on here, but like it really adds to the vibe of this pack of cards. Right, but with this on the floor, everything else is distracting because it's in focus. So what you want to do is you add something to raise this a little bit, and that's going to create the depth. Now I'm shooting at the 1.2. I'm shooting around f2, so because I want the whole card pack in focus, right, at f2. But I'm gonna try f.2 also, but just this little raise is going to create that nice separation from what's happening below it. Do you have a boat rope?
It's really thick though. Let me go see.
That would be, yeah, thick boat rope would be sick. But I like these shots.
Actually, I really like that one. I mean, if you like crop that one out, like hopefully you still get the bottle with the cards in it somehow.
Yeah. Dude, put the rings through this.
Okay, that'd be pretty good.
Yeah.
Imagine I had fucking tattoos.
Yeah, bro, tattoos are sick.
It'd be so baller.
This is sick.
Oh wow. Yeah, that's baller.
Maybe we can make this through. Oh, I like that. Now it's like, what? The ambiance literally looks like rum. Like, it's pretty sick.
Yeah, it does.
Maybe a bit more that way, a bit more forward, a tiny bit. Yeah. As you saw in the previous, like the couple clips that we took at Ryan's, I know I didn't focus too much in the video at the shoot itself because I kind of got distracted. I had a super big headache, so I just kind of wanted to take the pictures, and it was kind of weird. I don't know. I didn't really know how to incorporate filming the shoot at the same time, so I'm going to improve on that. I'll do it next time. Once I actually edit the video and see what I could have done better, I'll do it. But now I just kind of wanted to show you my step-by-step process of going by how to edit. And well, I did do a step-by-step, and now I'm kind of tired and fed up. I don't want to have to redo it. We'll kind of go through it quickly. So first things first, you go through your pictures from the shoot, you rate them all, give them whatever kind of organization you want. What I do, I give 5 stars, then I go through them again and edit my favorites. Then once they're edited, I give them flags. Usually I won't do it now. Yeah, I could. I give them flags to my favorites, then I export them all at the same time usually. And once I get a nice edit going, I copy paste the edit to every single picture without the masks, and then I add the masks per picture because it's always a little different. So the way I went from this to this, it's quite simple. Number 1, I crop the photo to my liking, crop it, straighten it, you know, do the little adjustments. First it was like this whole frame, and I'm like, oh, would have bring it down to a little bit like this, kind of like framed the subject a little better. And then you go through your basics panel, you do your profile treatment. For here, I usually switch to camera standard, but I didn't like the way it rendered the colors, so I just kept it as color. It kind of looks a lot more natural, even though camera standard V2 is like a lot more gives it a much of a bigger pop. And I go through my sliders here. I adjust my white balance. I play with these just a little bit. I don't do it this much because after that I go on my tone curve, and this is where I do most of the edits. You can see from before and after, like that's a big difference. A lot more contrasty. A lot of the colors are being complemented in here through the RGB channels. I usually do these individually because I really like to play with the color contrast, and then at the end I go in the parametric curve and just pop up the lights a little bit, the highlights, darken the shadows. You can see before this and after this, it's just looks a lot better. Might actually bring in more of a fade, just seeing that tiny bit, just a little more. Yeah, it'll look just like that. After this, I go down literally in order. I do HSL, play with these colors to my liking. This is a lot of fine tuning because sometimes it can be a big difference, but a significant difference. So I kind of like, naturally it looks good, it's just a little too yellow, too yellow, too green. Bring those oranges down to the left, reds down to the left over here a little bit. Get that kind of rum looking color. It's kind of the vibe we're going for. And then I go down to my color grading. Usually, most of the time, I put some blues in the shadows, orange in the highlights, orange in the midtones, or yellows, or maybe sometimes a little bit of reds. And, you know, it doesn't make a big difference if you go from before to after. It just kind of complements the picture a little bit, tones it down just a tad, adds a little bit of color contrast, and it just adds to the picture by not doing too much. And you can get really creative with these different color schemes. Usually you would contrast literally the colors from shadows to highlights, so you would do the opposite. So if you go on red shadows, you go on like cyan highlights, the opposite of each color. That's kind of how color grading works. Then go down into detail, and this is a very, very cool trick. So So if you go on your masking, and you hold your Alt key, and you slide this around, when it's completely white like this, this means everything in the picture is being sharpened. The more you go through the slider, now it's showing you everything that's in white is what's actually being sharpened. I don't want to sharpen everything. I barely want to sharpen anything. I want to sharpen just some small edges and details. So I bring it to about what I want to be sharpened. This part only. Whoop, definitely not 100. If it's all black, it means nothing's being sharpened. And then you don't need to press the Alt key for the other 3 sliders here, but if you do, it turns it to black and white, and it just makes it look better. For this, I'm actually gonna go onto the A here, and you see it a lot better without any distractions with the colors. At some point, it kind of starts to look too grainy and just honestly too sharp. So I stopped like right before that point, so just over here. I don't really touch the radius or the detail. You can experiment with that if you'd like. And since this is a pretty dark environment, even though my ISO's at 100, I added a little bit of noise reduction and added a tiny bit of color. Usually Lightroom does this at 25. I just added a tiny bit. And then go down. I always, unless I forget sometimes, I always turn off profile corrections. If you turn those on, hold up. So turn it on, see now it removes the natural vignette, it removes the natural way of like rendering the actual photo from the lens. So to click this off, it makes it looks like literally real. So, and then also I take away some chromatic aberration that I find in the picture, and I have to admit the 50mm RF 1.2 has chromatic aberration. It's not too bad. It's really easy to handle. You just click on the fringing on the highlights and it's gone. Not bad at all. I don't even touch the transform panel. It's completely useless to me. And effects, I add a little bit of grain for this picture because I feel like it makes sense. But I never, well, not never, but for this and for most times now, I don't even use the vignetting slider up here. I do it all with the masking tools. And then down on the calibration, I didn't do much calibration for this photo itself, but you can play around with these colors. It changes the colors drastically, actually. And so someone once said, with great power comes great responsibility, because you can do so much with these sliders, but you can so easily just completely overdo it. And then after all this, I look in the picture to see if there's any little details. Like there was one over here that I took off, some like healing spots. Take away any distractions that you see. Here it's important to have like textured surface, like the knot over here. That's really nice to have, some of the cracks and stuff, because with this type of photography, product photography, you want a nice textured surface. You don't want it just to be flat matte, you know, unless your subject is flat matte like a knife or something like that. And then after that, I go into the selective edits, and this is where like most of my time is taken. So if you look without the masks, this is what the picture looks like. And then with the masks, this is what the picture looks like. Huge difference. So what I did down here, straight away, this was way too bright. I brought in a gradient mask down here. This one, the first one, darken that. This looks way better. Second one, there's a little dot on the top left, super distracting. It was white. I just took it off, just put a bunch of black down up there. The next one was selecting the subject with the automatic AI, and that was the cards. And yeah, see, before, after, just made it pop a bit. That one looks dope too. It looks really like matte. It complements the rest of the picture, but I want it to pop just a bit. And I kept the rope in the subject. You wouldn't have to, but for example, if I just darken everything behind the rope, then that wouldn't make sense because the light is also hitting the rope. So I kept that there. And next, I went down. Oh yeah, this was too bright. It was kind of distracting, so I darkened that little part a bit. Now it's blended more. And mask 5. Oh yeah, without this, you can't see the little logo on top. That logo was significant, so I brought that back by lifting the shadows, adding a little bit of exposure. Same thing down here, the Jamaican rum. I wanted that like red to pop. Mask 8. Ryan's arm here was a little too bright, I found, so I darkened that just a bit. And then here, mask 9 is where I added my vignette. So I put a radial gradient around the subject, invert it. We'll look here. So I inverted it to darken everything around. And now the subject pops out more. The background is a little darker. I actually took away some sharpness and a little bit of clarity to kind of emphasize the out of focusness. And then finally, my mask 10, I brightened up the subject just a bit, not too much. See here, before, after. Just pops it up a tad. So that's literally everything I just told you is how you go from this to this. So before going, I just want to tell you a little bit about like how to set up a scene. So our theme here was the Captain Morgan cards, right? I found these at a thrift shop. Captain Morgan, pirates, vintage, rum, all that. So me and Ryan are brainstorming what could we add to kind of, you know, emphasize the ambiance. So we come up with rum, obviously. I came up with broken glass, came up with rings, I came up with matches, a knife, just some stuff that you can think that adds to your subject, right? That is like in the same environment. I also found this book at the thrift shop, and I was like, wow, this is sick. It's super legit, real leather, super old, super vintage, and I feel like this is something that a captain of a boat would have, you know, close to him. I don't know what he would use it for, but it kind of looks dope, adds to this part of the scene. And yeah, so you kind of try to find props for this kind of photography and make it work. Try different angles, different focal lengths. I got really tired and like not fed up, but unmotivated by this flat lay at first. So I'm like, okay, we gotta try something else. Ryan, go get some rope. Let's have you hold them, and I'll try different things. So at first, you know, I'll go through them here. Now, at first I was using the RF 50mm 1.2. Great for like being closer, but then I went a little bit further, and it like the 50 just it was just too wide. It wasn't looking good. Too much of the scene was being exposed. So I switched to the 85, and now this one came out insane. I love this pic. This is definitely my favorite one so far. I love the edit. It looks super professional. It looks super good with the compression of the background, and it's super sharp too. So switched to the 85, really good. The Rokinon 85mm for Canon RF. Then after that, I came to the front, kept the RF a little bit, played around with that, and then switched back to the 50 because I really like the way the 50 renders the image itself. Yeah, did this a lot. I like these the most. I like that one too. Added the rings here with the rope, kind of dope. I'm gonna edit those also later. I'm gonna show all the edits at the end of this video, so stay tuned. It's gonna be a little quick slideshow with the information. And yeah, that's kind of what you do. You try different things, you see what works, what doesn't work. So there you go, guys. Once again, thanks for sticking around, and feel free to reach out if you have any questions. See you next time. Peace. Ready to see something cool, or really maybe not cool?
Oh.
Whoa! We tried.
We tried.